Hey guys, what's going on? I am Hunter Starcraft, and I wanted to bring you guys just a quick little tutorial video on splash damage. I saw a really interesting post on Starcraft Reddit, so that's reddit.com/r/starcraft. A poster by the name of Pirate uploaded a very interesting diagram explaining splash damage. I wanted to just go over it with you guys really quickly because I thought it was pretty interesting, and it's pretty important knowledge for sure, Starcraft related. So this is going to be the StarCraft splash damage cheat sheet. First and foremost, the most beastly splash damage unit for sure, the Siege Tank in Siege mode. One of the most dreaded units for, map control and just like territorial dominance. We can see on the diagram here that, of course, the target is going to experience 100% damage. So for armored units, that's going to be 50 damage for the Siege Tank. And then in the first outer ring, so any units that's immediately adjacent to the target is going to receive 50% damage, 25 damage total for an armored unit. And then sort of this outer ring here is going to receive 25% damage for the Siege Tank. Moving on to the Hellion. The Hellion is structured a little bit differently. It's got a really long streak of splash damage with its flame, of course. Not only the target, but every unit in the line of fire is going to receive the full 100% splash damage from the Hellion, which of course makes it a really deadly harassment tool, especially when you get the blue flame upgrade, because then it goes from it goes from 3-shotting workers to 2-shotting workers, and yeah, it's actually much longer than I even expected it to be. The unit directly in front of the Hellion, and then all the way back here, you could potentially hit something like 7 or maybe even 8 workers in a row with that. Pretty crazy. The Colossi as well is a unit that does splash damage and 100% splash damage to everything. It doesn't have the target labeled, but you'd think the target would be in the middle here, and then it seems like 2 units on each side, or maybe 6 units total if you're lucky can get hit by 100% splash damage to the Colossi. Especially, if you're going up against a Terran Bio Ball and you use sentries well to zone off the units, you get that splash damage going, and it's all 100%, so that's pretty cool. The Archon, pretty complex. This Archon is going to do your full damage to the target, of course, so that's either going to be 25 or 35. It does a bonus damage to biological units. And then you've got, I believe, 50% for units that are immediately adjacent. Yes, that's 50% for units right next to the target, and 25% for units that are just a little bit further out. Another very useful unit against Bio Ball, especially like Marines. Any biological units, Archon's going to do a lot of damage and get some splash going as well. I think Archon's one of the more underused units, and I'm looking forward to seeing more Archon builds, in the pro scene in the future. Oh man, maybe the worst, scariest splashing unit to deal with, the Baneling, does 100% splash damage to everything in the blast radius. You could hit a ton of units with this. I'm thinking about 4 Marines in each direction, so you'd be looking at some ballpark like 8x8, subtract a few potentially. So definitely does a huge amount of damage. Maybe 8x8 isn't realistic, like 64 Marines is a ton, but you can definitely hit a solid like 20, maybe 30 Marines even with just one burrowed Baneling if you had everything grouped up. So it does do 100% splash to everything, in the radius. So that's pretty cool, pretty scary unit, especially those Baneling landmines. The Ultra Lisk has a really unique hitbox as well. They've really gone into detail here with exactly how it works. The Ultra Lisk was actually adjusted in a recent patch as well. So, well, actually the patch was a few months ago, but now its cleave attack does 33% splash damage to everything surrounding the target, on all sides and in front of the Ultra Lisk. It used to be, it got tweaked a little bit into the form that we see now. The Ultra Lisk used to do splash damage to the units like behind it. It used to do splash damage to buildings, and it would hit the SCVs repairing on the other side of the building. So the splash damage for the Ultra Lisk has been completely revamped, and this is what it looks like now. Pretty cool. Target gets 100%, 33% for everything else. The slightly underused Seeker Missile, the spell from the Raven, does 100% damage to everything in that target area there, that X, and then 50% splash damage on that first radius and 25% splash damage on the remainder. As you can see in this diagram here, the Raven actually has the largest splash damage radius in the whole game. Even the Baneling is just a little bit smaller, although the Baneling does do 100%. The Raven down to 25% on that outer extent there, exterior ring, but still does a huge radius. Pretty cool. The Muta Lisk, one of the most misunderstood units when it comes to splash damage. You've got 100% on the target, 25% for the first adjacent unit, and 10% for a second unit that's going to get hit by that bouncing glaive. So once you get to that 10% portion, you're only doing like 1 point something damage depending on your upgrades, which is why spells like Guardian Shield are so useful against Muta Lisk. It almost completely eliminates the splash damage, so Muta Lisks are basically just doing damage to their target and not doing any splash at all. But that's pretty cool as well, just the more precise measurements for Muta Lisk splash. I'm wondering if they're actually kind of missing anything. I guess you'd consider the Templar Psionic Storm to be splash damage. Of course, the Psi Storm does 80 damage to any unit underneath the Psi Storm, so within that radius. I don't think it scales down the way some of these other units do. I'm wondering if there are any other splash damage units that they're missing out here. If you can think of one, post in the comments. I don't think there are any. But I just wanted to share this with you guys because I thought it was pretty cool. It was information I didn't know, so I thought I'd pass that along to you guys. All right, thanks a lot for tuning in for this quick broadcast. I'm going to be uploading a StarCraft 2 commentary, a pro-Korean matchup later today, so in the next maybe 3-4 hours, depending how everything works out. It's a really exciting game featuring STC. Really back and forth battle, so look forward to that. Thanks a lot for tuning into this one, and take care until next time. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace out.